go to the National Assembly to present a cornucopia of all these provisions for immediate amendment, because an amendment process could be 1 day, maximum within a week. Those of them who are in the House, we could see a number of them here. Now, I have, in my engagement, identified a number of provisions which are key to election. Whether we are ready for the 2027 election, these provisions have to be dealt with. Already, those that have identified that you have watched the television, on television, they are there already. That is number section 63, section 60, subsection 3, that has to do with the transmission. Of course, by that proviso, and as the senior advocate and all lawyers that are here would have testified, that once you put a proviso to override the main provision, of course, that is what is going to be relied on. But what is more troubling is the fact that at the level of the balloting, where the will of the people should be expressed, that has already been sabotaged by virtue of section 62, subsection 3, which says that a ballot paper that will be used for the election that does not bear the official, mark, by official mark, you mean the various security features that are contained. So what you need to do, as was done in Ghana, when we went on intervention in Ghana, was that the political parties, all of them, decided to ask the EMB, where are you producing the ballot paper and the result sheet? If it's outside the country, that has to be audited. That has to be known, where they are producing the ballot paper and the result sheet. That is very, very key for you to take home. Furthermore, if there was a projection, I would have shown something here. Unfortunately, we don't have that. I will just explain to you. As someone who spent 10 years, and I traversed almost the entire country in conducting election. Governor Leah Imoke's election, second term election, I presided over that election. That was the first time the Jega leadership piloted e-transmission. We sat in my office, the 18 local government of Cross River State, all the results were transmitted live in 2012. At that time, some of these provisions you are seeing that I've identified, you see how some of them, but because we came in with integrity, with the decision that we must make democracy work in Nigeria, we circumvented all the rigging provisions that we identified as at that time. And that was why we were able to achieve that. And so, if you look at what they have said in section 137, this is important. Section 137 says that all the presiding officers, collation officers, returning officers that are going to conduct this election, that at the end of the election, if you are going to a tribunal, it shall not be necessary to invite them to the tribunal to explain how election was conducted. It is actually been my view that the burden of proof of how election is conducted should be on the EMB. That it is unfair to say that a man who will return as the winner of election and petitioner will not be the one at the tribunal to explain how election is conducted. Whereas, who recruits ad hoc staff is INEC. Who print ballot paper is INEC. Who conducts election is INEC. At the end of election, who is in custody of election material? INEC. Who is in a better position to explain how election was conducted? And that is why I've already argued for inquisitorial method as is done in other parts of the world. It is to be INEC that should come and explain. And that is why this is topic I'm going to take on to engage my constituency, the judges that look, section 131 of the Evidence Act, section 136 of the Evidence Act, section 140 of the Evidence Act are very clear to the fact that if there is a dispute as to how a claim is made, the onus is on the person who is making the existence of a claim. For instance, if at point A, a party says the election was not conducted, that's a negative assertion. If at point B and the other person says election was conducted, It is the person who said that election was conducted, i.e., INEC, or the person who returned, should be the one to explain how that is done. I'm not the person who said it did not occur. I am going to give a better clarity.